Karen's keys jangled like a jailer's, each clink a smug declaration of her reign over Willow Creek. She waddled up my porch, her floral blouse straining, convinced she'd caught me breaking her precious HOA rules again. The air was thick with the kind of tension that hums before a storm breaks. Karen, the self-appointed queen of our cul-de-sac, had been sniffing around my property for weeks, her nose for violations sharper than a bloodhound's. This time, though, she'd crossed a limey front door. To be exact, and she had no idea the trap was already sprung. For months, Karen had made life in Willow Creek a bureaucratic hell. Her friendly reminders about unmowed lawns or unapproved mailbox colors were less friendly than a rattlesnake's hiss. She'd fine you for a flower pot an inch too wide, then smile like she was doing you a favor. Everyone knew her game. Power, plain and simple. Karen wasn't just the HOA president. She was its dictator, wielding her rulebook like a scepter. But I'd had enough. My crime? A single potted fern on my porch, deemed unsightly by her arbitrary standards. She'd sent 3 notices, each more threatening than the last, promising escalation if I didn't comply. I ignored them. Big mistake, or so she thought. Last week, Karen's campaign against me hit a new low. She'd started snooping after dark, flashlight in hand, peering into windows and jotting notes like some wannabe detective. Neighbors whispered about her inspections, but no one dared confront her. She was too vindictive, too connected. Then, 2 days ago, I caught her on my security camera, rifling through my trash cans at midnight. That's when I called the police, not for the trash, but for what I'd learned from a friend at the HOA board. Karen had a master key to every house in the neighborhood, a safety measure she'd pushed through years ago. Rumor was, she'd been using it to let herself in, checking for violations when owners weren't home. Illegal? Absolutely. Provable? That was the problem until now. I'd set the stage carefully. After spotting her on my camera, I filed a report with the police, detailing her late-night prowling and the master key rumor. They were skeptical but agreed to investigate. I told them I'd be out of town today, leaving my house empty. In truth, I was parked 2 streets over, watching my security feed on my phone. The police, bless them, were already inside, waiting in my living room with the lights off. All I needed was for Karen to take the bait. And there she was, at 6:47 p.m., waddling up my steps like she owned the place. Her face, doughy and flushed, twisted into a smirk as she pulled out the master key. She glanced around, probably checking for nosy neighbors, then slid the key into the lock. My heart pounded as the door creaked open. She stepped inside, oblivious, her flashlight beam dancing across my furniture. I could almost hear her muttering about my non-compliant curtains. Then, silence. The feed showed 2 shadows moving swiftly from the hallway. A muffled shout, Karen's voice, shrill and indignant. "What is this? You can't." The cops' voices were calm but firm, cutting her off. Handcuffs clicked. Game over. Rewind to 6 months ago, and I'd never have believed I'd be orchestrating a sting against Karen. I'd moved to Willow Creek for peace, not war. A quiet IT guy, I just wanted a small house, a decent Wi-Fi signal, and to be left alone. But Karen had other plans. From day one, she'd targeted me. Maybe it was my beat-up Honda in the driveway or the fact that I didn't kiss up at HOA meetings. Whatever it was, she made it her mission to break me. First came the fines for my lawn, $50 for excessive dandelions. Then, a $200 penalty for unauthorized exterior decor, a wind chime my mom gave me. I paid it first, too tired to fight. But when she started showing up unannounced, snapping photos of my porch, I knew this wasn't about rules. It was personal. The neighborhood wasn't much help. Most folks kept their heads down, terrified of Karen's wrath. Old Mr. Jenkins, who'd lived here since the 80s, called her a bully with a clipboard. He'd seen her berate a single mom for letting her kid draw chalk on the sidewalk. Another neighbor, Priya, said Karen once fined her for excessive curry smells from her kitchen, then claimed it was a misunderstanding when Priya threatened to sue. Everyone had a Karen story, but no one had the guts to stand up. Except me, apparently, though I didn't feel brave, just fed up. The master key thing was the final straw. Priya had tipped me off after overhearing Karen brag about it at a board meeting. She said it's for emergencies, Priya whispered, but she's been inside my house. I found my spice rack rearranged last month. That's when I started digging. A friend on the board confirmed the key existed, though no one could prove Karen was abusing it. I checked my own house after that. Sure enough, my desk drawers were slightly askew, papers shuffled. She'd been inside, probably looking for dirt to pin on me. That's when I bought the cameras. And when I saw her in my trash, I knew I had her. The police were skeptical at first. Trespassing's hard to prove, Officer Daniels said when I called. Unless we catch her in the act, it's your word against hers. That's when I hatched the plan. I told Karen, casually, that I'd be gone for the weekend knowing she'd take the chance to snoop. I even left the fern out, a perfect excuse for her to inspect. The police agreed to wait inside, though they warned me it might not hold up in court. Doesn't matter, I said. I just want her to stop. Now, as I watched the feed, Karen's reign was crumbling. The cops led her out in cuffs, her face a mix of fury and disbelief. "This is outrageous," she screeched, her voice echoing down the street. "I'm the HOA president. I have rights." The officers didn't flinch, guiding her to the patrol car. A few neighbors peeked out, their faces a mix of shock and quiet glee. Mr. Jenkins gave me a thumbs up from his porch. Priya texted me, "You did it. Thank you." But it wasn't over yet. Karen's lawyer would probably spin this as a misunderstanding, and she'd likely dodge serious charges. The key, though, was the public humiliation. By morning, the neighborhood group chat was buzzing. Someone had snapped a photo of Karen in cuffs, and it was spreading like wildfire. The HOA board called an emergency meeting to discuss her removal. Turns out, I wasn't the only one with cameras. 2 other neighbors had footage of her sneaking around their properties. The evidence was piling up, and Karen's empire was collapsing under its own weight. I drove home that night, the fern still on my porch, defiant. The cops had taken my statement, and Karen was at the station, facing charges for trespassing and misuse of HOA authority. It wasn't a slam-dunk case, but it was enough to rattle her. More importantly, it sent a message. Willow Creek wasn't her personal fiefdom anymore. People started talking, sharing their own Karen stories, planning to rewrite the HOA rules. For the first time in years, the neighborhood felt like a community again. Karen's downfall wasn't just about her. It was about every petty tyrant who thinks they can bully their way to control. She'd underestimated us, assumed we'd stay quiet forever. But all it took was one person to push back, to say enough. I wasn't a hero, just a guy with a fern and a security camera. But sometimes, that's all it takes to remind people they don't have to live under someone else's thumb. As I sat on my porch, sipping coffee the next morning, I watched the sunrise paint the street gold. The air felt lighter, like the neighborhood had exhaled. Karen's car was still in her driveway, but her blinds were shut tight. She'd be licking her wounds for a while. And me? I was already planning my next violation, maybe a bright red mailbox, just to see how far I could push it. The end.